In a quiet village, nestled between towering mountains and vast meadows, there lived a humble clockmaker named Elias. His small shop sat at the heart of the village, where a large wooden clock hung above the door, its steady tick-tock resonating through the cobbled streets. For many years, Elias had repaired and built clocks for the villagers. Yet it wasn't the clocks themselves that fascinated him, but time, its fleeting nature, its relentless march, and its immeasurable value. Elias had always believed that time was the most precious resource anyone possessed. He would often tell his customers, "A broken clock can be fixed, but lost time can never be recovered." However, few people took his words to heart. They were more concerned with the precision of their timepieces than the meaning of time itself. After all, time seemed abundant, endless even, and worrying about its value felt unnecessary. One brisk autumn morning, an old man entered Elias's shop, carrying a tarnished gold pocket watch. The man's hands shook as he placed it on the counter, and his eyes held a weariness that Elias had seen in many over the years. "My father gave me this watch when I was a boy," the old man said softly. "It's been passed down through generations, but it stopped ticking yesterday. Can you fix it?" Elias took the watch, inspecting its intricate gears and worn casing. It was a beautiful piece, crafted with care and precision, much like the lives of those who had owned it. "I can repair it," Elias said, "but it will take some time. Come back in a week." The old man nodded, a distant look in his eyes. "I wonder," he mused aloud, "how much time I have left. My life has gone by so quickly. It feels like yesterday that I was a young man, full of dreams and ambitions." Elias listened quietly, his hands still moving expertly over the delicate parts of the watch. He had heard similar sentiments from many before, but there was something in the man's voice that struck a chord with him. As the old man left, Elias found himself contemplating the same question. How much time did anyone have left, really? That evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Elias walked to the nearby river. He sat on the bank, watching the water rush past, its surface reflecting the fading light of the day. Time, he thought, was like this river, always moving, never stopping, and impossible to hold on to. And yet so many people treated time as though they had all the hours in the world, squandering it on things that held no meaning. In the days that followed, Elias began to notice how the villagers spent their time. Some were always rushing from one task to the next, never pausing to breathe, while others sat idly, waiting for something to happen. There were those who wasted hours in petty arguments, and those who counted minutes by the number of coins they earned. The children, blissfully unaware of the passage of time, played in the streets, their laughter ringing out like bells, while the elderly sat on their porches, watching the world go by, with a quiet resignation. Elias realized that most people didn't see time for what it truly was, an irreplaceable gift. They measured time in days, weeks, and years, but not in moments of meaning or joy. They were so focused on the future or the past that they rarely lived fully in the present. A week later, the old man returned to collect his watch. Elias handed it to him, the mechanism now ticking steadily once more. "It's as good as new," Elias said, but the man didn't seem to notice. His eyes were far away, lost in thought. "You know," the old man said after a long pause, "I've spent most of my life working, always thinking there would be more time to enjoy things later. Now I'm old, and I realize I never really lived." Elias nodded. "That's the tragedy of time," he replied. "We always think we have more than we do." The old man smiled sadly. "If I could go back, I'd spend more time with the people I love. I'd laugh more, worry less, and savor the simple moments that I once overlooked." Elias watched as the man left, his words lingering in the air. It was a sentiment Elias had heard before, but never had it resonated so deeply. For the first time, he understood that the true value of time wasn't in how much of it one had, but in how it was spent. That evening, as Elias locked up his shop, he made a decision. He would no longer spend all his days surrounded by clocks, measuring the time that passed without truly living it. He would visit the mountains he had always admired from afar, take long walks by the river, and spend time with friends and family he had neglected in his pursuit of his craft. Over the months that followed, Elias's life changed. He still fixed clocks, but he no longer lived by them. He began to cherish the quiet moments of his day, the warmth of the sun on his face, the sound of birds in the trees, and the laughter of children playing outside his shop. He learned that time wasn't just about hours and minutes. It was about experiences, relationships, and the simple beauty of being alive. And so Elias became a man not just of time, but of life. He realized that the value of time wasn't in how much of it one had, but in how it was used. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly rich. In the end, Elias's greatest gift wasn't the clocks he crafted, but the wisdom he shared with those who came to him. Time is precious, and it should be spent wisely. For once it is gone, it can never be reclaimed.